They got plenty of foliage, but otherwise, um, yeah, not really much else to do there. There's a couple like climbing statues and whatnot. Like, let me see if I can find some photos here
Yeah.
just before we officially start.
This is right in Toronto.
Yeah, yeah, it's on the waterfront. So lately they've been doing their best to like revitalize it and try to bring a lot more life to it. It's difficult because most of the areas have been used for industrial purposes for several decades now. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, there it is. Um,
That's pretty.
oh my goodness. Our news media's budget is like $1 billion. They can't get a decent photo. Oh my god. Oh, that's too funny. Um, yeah, this is basically like one of the areas where you walk around. The beach is like it's not like comfortable sand that you can sit on. It's just like hard rocks and whatnot. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird,
Yeah,
but
not fully livable, but it's there now.
it's there now, and we can't do anything about it. So, make of that what you will. Um,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, sorry guys, we're live. We're just talking about how our weeks have been.
Yeah.
Um,
As usual, we're checking in on the government and discovering that it did nothing useful completely, but that's all right. We live on. We live on.
oh, someone's
We'll
got to
make
keep them in check.
the art instead. Yeah, we'll make the art instead.
Yeah. Hope you guys have had a good start to your week so far. Mackenzie, is there any is the recent discussions that we've been having with some artists? Is that something that we can share right now, or is it still too early?
Maybe it's a little premature to say who and what, but we could talk about it for sure. Because it's like that. I feel like this is the direction it's been going in, and it's like the new page. So it is happening.
Yeah. So without revealing too much, through our artist interview series, we've been fortunate enough to have artists come on and give their time willingly from across the world, Southeast Asia, Europe. Um, where else? I'm trying to think. South America, I believe.
Canada.
Canada, yes. America, obviously. So from all over, we've been fortunate enough to have artists come on the show and talk, and some of which we are working on a collab with. Now, what shape that'll take, or what that's going to look like, no details as of yet that we can share. But yeah, just one other angle of our artist interview series that we hope to actually make into something physical instead of just having the interview.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Yeah, you've been doing a great job finding people out there that are making really cool things. And it's very nice that they are receptive to the idea of collaborating and sharing their art in this wearable way that sometimes is another way to consume art, I guess you could say, consume art, collect art,
Bring it to
um,
life.
bring it to life, have it in your life. Yeah. And it's just going to be so well suited. Like, their work is so strong, so it'll be really fun. And it'll be the first time that we're really bringing contemporary art into what we've been doing because we've been really focused on art history, like from the past. So now we're getting ready to actually finally dovetail the entire endeavor with what's happening now. And I feel like that's going to be very expansive and nice. And hopefully it'll be, something that it's cool because we could do a collaboration, they could add to it later. Like we can do a lot. So the idea of Outsider Supply really being a platform is what's happening. And I feel like with the interviews and everything, you start to really feel that. And then now we'll actually be connecting networks of people and giving them a space and all while elevating like your average t-shirt into a piece of art. So I think it's going to be really exciting and fun.
Yeah, and I would even go as far as to say that if anyone is listening right now that has seen our show with the artist interview series and would like to come on, like by all means, tag us on Twitter, DM us on Instagram, send us an email, what have you. We'll check out your stuff and see if we can make that happen. Um, collabs as well. I figure we're open to seeing what possibilities are out there. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to see if we can make something happen with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, right? It's like I keep saying that right now it's so different. We have the internet. It's a beautiful thing. Like a lot of times artists are so insular and we keep to ourselves when we need time alone to make our work and maybe tend to have that personality anyways. And so if you thought about 100 years ago what was happening, everyone was in Paris. And it's almost kind of like a similar temperament because what was happening in Paris 100 years ago, where you have like Gertrude Stein having these, she was a, for those maybe people know or don't know, but there were a lot of expats that were in France in particular and in Paris in particular after World War One. And that's when you have Ernest Hemingway and all these type of people living there. If you've ever seen Midnight in Paris, that's a perfect example of what was going on. It's really about exactly that. It's about the Gertrude Stein salons where she was an author, but then she would have people over to her living room. And so there's all of this convergence of these artists that a lot of literary artists, especially there, that we know about today. And in a way, like being spread out is okay now. Artists, again, you're going to be an artist wherever you are. So the idea of the internet now as our Paris, I think, is really beautiful. So the more that we kind of get in the living room together and we mix energies and we learn what the other person's doing and all of that, there's just so much inspiration and power that comes from that. And it not only compels you to make more art, but I think it's just great community. And it also, I think it's very validating. And again, there's strength in numbers. So artists who are very disparate by nature, it's a nice way to find each other. And it always happens that way, right? It's like in the 60s, it was upstate New York. It was, that this is always happening where artists converge somehow. So, and I know that does still happen in real life, but if you're living out in the boondocks like me, maybe you're lucky you wind up with a neighbor like little Juliet, who's an artist in her own right, but like, we're just few and far between.
Mm.
So it's nice to be able to connect regardless of any spans of space on this earth so far, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and
Feels important.
there's quite a few digital collectives that have been popping up. One that I remember was, I'm gonna try to find the artist because we've had them on the show not too long ago. That they've started similar thing. Well, they've had this thing going for quite a bit now, but it's a little bit more geared towards animation. But just like us, they'll have artists on to talk about their process and the experience that they've had, what has worked for them in the past and what hasn't. But just to do the due diligence, I do want to see if I can pull them up here. Bear with me for a second. Oh yes, it's for Hyena.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the animator. They have a space. Oh, Move It Cafe. That's right. Yeah, so it's a collective of artists where they invite them to come on. They do spaces mostly. I don't believe it's visual at all, but they'll have these spaces where they interview artists as well. Another gentleman that we interviewed yesterday, Theo, who's a collage artist based in New York. He's part of a collective called Solitude Global, and
Mm.
they do a similar thing. They help feature artists and um, share their work, collab on stuff. So there's more and more of these spaces popping up, and it's great to see. From what Hyena told me, that kind of area of or groups of artists, it kind of like peaked a couple of years ago, but now they're seeing a resurgence of it, which is great to see. Like the more the merrier, by all means.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people question if there have been any art movements since when. Like, when's the last time there was a name to a movement? It's been a while. I actually don't really know. Like, maybe the 90s with Stuckism. Maybe you have,
Postmodernism.
yeah, I mean, that was like, yeah, an era, right? Kind of a longer era. Um, I think that largely we're still in a post. Actually, I know you said like maybe we want to talk about art school. It's so funny. Um, I call people don't get my art jokes unless they're really nerds, but like I had made a hat at one point. We didn't produce it yet, but it was just called Post Post Post. Because it's like postmodern, post aesthetic, post conceptual, it's just post. And it's like where do you go from that, you know? Or it's like I always say, we were saying that so meta a long time ago, way before Facebook changed their name to Meta. We were saying it a long time ago. And, you know, so there has been like a meta, I guess maybe meta memetics, like that type of thing is, you know, maybe we're still in that. Um, we've gone through what I would call anti-aesthetics. I don't know. I had a lot of friends that were like, I'm making this because it's ugly, and then I'm gonna make you look at it. I'm like, okay, sure, you know, that's what you want to do. Then okay, I'll see. I can't say it held my interest for very long, but I got the point, you know. Um, yeah, I don't know what there's not like a movement there that I know of, you know. Some people were talking about a few years ago, like maybe there would be something called absurdism, just because of how absurd things are. Like even if you're looking at pop art, I don't even know, like, can you put Jeff Koons in pop art? I guess so. He's a symptom of popular culture, I guess. I'm not great. We don't really, we're like, sell your soul, buy a Koons. We're not really big Jeff Koons fans. And I'm not really, at least, like, and neither is Allison. But, like, um, you know, there's something absurd about, like, the last time I was somewhere where someone was buying a Jeff Koons, it was like a toy train car with a Jack Daniels bottle in the back, and it sold for $32 million. That feels absurd. So, you know, maybe we're in absurdism in some ways, like in that really crazy, like high end of the market. Obviously, the Morizo Catalan banana, that was a crazy story. Can't believe that guy died.
Oh, he died?
The guy that collected it died.
No way. This
Yeah,
guy?
am I wrong? Better fact check me. Yeah,
Justin
I think he
Sun.
died.
Jesus, is this one of those crypto deaths that's like really sketchy and there's like potential like foreign intelligence stuff
I hope
involved in it?
I hope better not be. I have no idea. He's young.
No, hold on. He's gotta have a Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Better fact check me before I start spreading rumors on the
No,
internet.
he's still alive. There's well, I mean, yeah, there's
Okay.
nothing.
Wait, what
Yeah,
am I talking? Forget it. Forget it. Nix. Wrong. Misinformation. Misinformation.
yeah. You might have seen some misinfo, or maybe just another artist, but
Where I saw that, but oh well. No clue.
yeah. It just in May 2025, he was at a private dinner with Donald Trump there for the investors of the Trump meme coin.
Oh my gosh. Okay. He's alive and well then.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's alive and well.
that must have just been one of those things that I either made up or I saw it and it was wrong. And I was like, oh no. You gotta fact
Maybe.
check your fact checking these days.
But yes, yeah, the
But
banana,
yeah, the banana. Totally silly.
and he ate it.
Like, yeah. What did he pay for it? $40 million or something?
6.2 mil.
Okay, $6.2 million banana. I honestly, like, I actually think it's a great piece of art. I kind of like Mauricio Catalan. Like, his stuff isn't always, like, exactly funny to me, but I do like his art, and I understand a lot of artists, they have, like, a bit, you know? It's like, this is their bit that they do, and he's, like, the kind of supposed to be, like, the class clown of the art world in some ways. Um, yeah.
It is kind of absurdist or like surrealist, some of his works.
Yeah, it is surrealist. Those pieces, those are pretty cool pieces. I mean, he's an interesting artist. Um, he's like a rascal for sure. He has a really cool, like, kind of gross website called Toilet Paper Magazine, and it's a vibe. I hope not. It's supposed to be not that. Let's see what's on there right now. He's just kind of a crazy guy. He's Italian.
I guess he's just selling merch through it.
Maurizio. Hmm?
I guess he's selling merch through it, through the magazine somehow.
Yeah, there are like things that you can buy that are, yeah, different type of products, I guess you could call it, or whatnot. But it's kind of like Magritte meets Tom Wesselman meets mm, men's bathroom humor, I guess.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah, this
long
is like,
website.
yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, it's like a journey on there. It's art. I mean, so that's the guy who made the banana piece. And of course, like, probably people know about it, but essentially he just duct taped a banana to a wall in a gallery, and then that was the piece called The Comedian, right? So you
Yeah,
could look at it a lot of
and
different ways.
when he sold it, the buyer, what they actually got was like the rights to the idea. So like obviously because the banana's gonna go bad, but he's able to like reproduce it, or I genuinely don't know how that works, because how do you even how does how does that work? I don't get it, because like is there any value in like reselling it? Can you even resell something like that? I'm very confused by the concept itself.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's a concept. So, like, if you look back to the 60s with conceptual art, like, I think we've talked about Sol LeWitt before. He's one of my favorite examples. But, okay, so when you're in the 60s, you start having art as idea, or really before that. Actually, you have that starting in the 20s with Marcel Duchamp. Fact check me. But, like, art as idea starts coming about in the 20th century. So, everybody likes to debate what is art. And of course, like when you've gone through all the material phases, you're going to wind up at thin air. That's the way I look at it. It's art is a thought process as much as anything else. And even if it seems illogical, it's actually very linear. Like when you think about it, you're like, oh, okay, yes, you would go from that to that. Eventually, you would say, all the colors, and then you would say all the colors are white, and then you'd say then you would say nothingness, and then you would go into the idea realm completely. So Sol LeWitt in the 60s, and actually Yoko Ono too. Oh, I wish I had my grapefruit book right here because I would read something from it. I don't, but they are basically writing art pieces. So Sol LeWitt did these instruction pieces. He literally just writes down instructions. They're very abstract. And then if you go to a museum and you see them installed, it's going to be different every time because it's up to the interpretation of the installers. So, when you're getting to this level of headiness with art, then you're thinking about, does the artist really need to make the art for it to be the art physically? Are they the one generating the idea? And then you start to imply the gallerist, you start to imply the person that hangs the art, you start to imply the preservationist and the culture at large, the museum body itself. You start to imply all of that. So sometimes also that could be maybe considered part of institutional critique, which also started happening around then. But yeah, like we can talk about that too. I feel like I go on about these things because they are the things that stick out and they're interesting to me. But yeah, Yoko Ono, like in that time, to me, Grapefruit is the best thing she ever did. Like I love that book. It's a book of art pieces that are just written out. And I feel like we've looked at that too before in Yappenings, but they're really interesting. They're honestly beautiful. It'll be like, take a piece of paper, punch a hole in it, hold it up to the sky. And that's called like a sky piece. It's cool. But it's just written. She didn't do it. You can do it. Some things are impossible. Like there are impossible ideas that you couldn't really do. Like, oh, I don't know what it might be. She maybe didn't say take the sky and put it in your back pocket, but she might say something like that. So with conceptual art, so for like leading back to Maurizio and this banana and the idea of owning an idea, that's really where it's not only rooted in that, but that's actually really what you own when you own an art piece beyond the artifact. Like the artifact, what is the artifact, right? Like we preserve art, we touch it up, we keep it safe. It was made at a specific time by a specific hand. And that becomes really valuable throughout the course of history. And so in a way, it's still like that. It's still an artifact of the era that we're in, that he could even make a piece that would be widely accepted. He's late in his career. I shouldn't say late. I don't know how old he is, but he's a mature artist. He's been doing this stuff. He's got a lot of work that proves his capabilities. I think that can matter a lot to artists who want to work in this way. They might want to show that they can draw like a wizard, or that they can make these crazy sculptures, and they validate their technical abilities. Just kind of like how people crack on Picasso, but they're like, well, he was a prodigy, and when he was 13, he made this immaculate painting. And I think for somebody like Picasso, that was part of his justification for wanting to return to abstraction, youthfulness, cubism, what became cubism, tribalism, these masks. That his work was so much inspired by masks, and culture, basically imperial culture at that time, where Europeans were going into places like Tahiti and wherever else in the world they were going to. So there's all that stuff. But yeah, so basically, like, the guy that owns the idea owns the art, so to speak, I think is what you're seeing in that case. And the fact of that is what it is absurd, and that's actually what makes it also valuable. And I think it's like, yeah, obviously, like, Maurizio's got something to say because he has a magazine called Toilet Paper. These guys, he's kind of crass, but you know, and you could think of every possible interpretation of banana. It's like a lot of things, you know. So it's just like, and then the fact that he sold it for that much. Some artists like to put their middle fingers up too, you know, and they're like, ha ha ha, watch what I can do.
Yeah,
Like,
and it
I
looks
think,
like
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
it looks like the purchasing terms for the banana is you get a certificate of authenticity, which allowed you to
Yeah.
recreate the work, but you can only have one recreation being posted in a gallery at a given time, and it was given with specific instructions, like the banana has to be affixed exactly 1.6 meters above the ground. And there's all these different instructions about like how it should be cared for. So the banana should be changed every 7 to 10 days. Both the banana and the duct tape can be placed as needed, so on and so forth. Um, and apparently, this work has been sold before. In 2019, Art Basel Miami, 3 editions of it sold for anywhere between 120 to 150K each. Um, and now that crypto billionaire owns it. Well, he owns a certificate of authenticity.
Yeah. People want a certificate of authenticity when they collect your work. Honestly, every artist should do that, in my opinion. It's like you can just print it offline and sign it. But it is going to say, like, this is the real deal, this is the thing. It's just like an agreement. It's a nice thing to do. And really, anyone that's a serious collector would ask you for it too. So for all artists out there, if they aren't doing that, they might want to consider that for sure, as just part of their practice when they sell their art. And actually, too, the Maurizio piece also reflects back to Dadaism as well, and Marcel Duchamp, and that was 100 years ago. I know it was like in the 20s. And he was the one that came up with this concept of found objects. He was the one going out, and of course, too, he was being a prankster and probably a major headache to a lot of people. He's very I don't know if you call it postmodern. Um, and yeah, that's by Salvador Dali, that piece, actually, the lobster telephone in particular.
Mm.
But that idea, like Duchamp, yeah, the urinal's the most famous one. Because he just finds this thing and puts it in a gallery and calls it art. And you're like, oh. And of course he does a little something something to it, but or like the bicycle wheel up there in the top right, that's a really well-known one as well. And so his part of what he was doing is just saying you don't even have to paint this thing, you don't have to sculpt this thing from scratch. You can contextualize it and call it art. And then it is. So yeah, and again, you can see that happening post World War One. I feel like art in the 20th century is so well understood if you look at the wars and all of that, because really every single thing, every single movement, and I laugh because I'm like, actually, every single art movement is always a rebellion. Just every single time. And even like with the Rococo collection, you're thinking, oh, this is just pink florals. And then actually, when you read about it, they're saying, this is a rebellion against Baroque and dark colors and moods and stuff. So that's just how it goes. The artist wants to rebel, and they do, and it does push things forward. And I feel like that's why, largely in society, people say, oh, like, was Jackson Pollock like a CIA project? I have no idea.
A little
Who?
bit.
What do you know about it? I don't really know. Yeah, I actually never. We started making a T-shirt about that, but we're like, we're gonna get sued, so we just didn't.
No, so basically the idea was that this is during like the I think just the beginning years of like the Cold War, where uh, part of their propaganda efforts, the American government wanted to make it clear to not just the people in charge of the Soviet regime, but more importantly to the people living within the Soviet Union itself, that America is the bastion of freedom of expression to the highest degree. And they wanted to make it so that even a painter like Pollock, with things that, well, creations that look nonsensical uh, to the average person, um, even that could be elevated to its highest status. Now, by highest status, I mean like buyers that would buy these pieces for millions of dollars, and they effectively had a hand in facilitating the purchases of some of these. So whether that's actually funneling money towards the people that were buying this or having specific buyers go in and do this, I don't know the specifics of the operation, but I know for a fact that yeah, the CIA did pump millions into it. Um, Kind of as like a middle finger to the Soviet Union to say like, yeah, this is what we call high art, and you guys can stand there twiddling your thumbs, being like, I don't get it, but this is what it is in America. Even these kind of artists can make it to the top. But it was more importantly to the people of the Soviet Union to show them that, yeah, like even in the craziest forms of self-expression, things that you know you would ordinarily not see in a gallery are actually receiving a front row seat treatment and getting the most attention compared to everyone else at that time. So it was kind of like a two for one, because like yeah, it actually in reality, America at that time was one of the few places where people could create so freely and have these art movements spawn. Um, but there was also like an artificial element to it, that they were like putting their thumb on the scale.
Hmm, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Hmm. That might be one of the only good things the CIA ever did then. 'Cause it's kind of interesting, actually. The
Yeah,
thing
like
I think about,
on
yeah,
one hand, it's like yeah, like there is here's a man with a genuinely unique form of self-expression that hasn't really been seen, in this way before, and there is something to the art if you look deep enough. But on the other hand, it's like, well, I mean, would Pollock have garnered the same fame if he had just been, like the average artist, just like scrambling trying to get their works showcased and just make enough money to afford rent. You know, like how, especially at that time, like would it have been, would his mark on the history of art been as popular or as significant without that amount of money and influence going into it?
Right. Well, none of them really would be. That's what's it.
And
That's
who's to say
where.
they stopped?
Yeah, you can't say whether they have or haven't. Don't ask me because I don't know and I have no clue. So, it's like I always feel like we're on Twitter. I better make sure that everybody knows. Once again, cross my heart, hope to die. I don't know. Like, but yeah, I mean, collectors do that, of course, because they're buying an asset. This is where the art world just there's a lot to it. And which is why we exist also, because we want to be able to exist in tandem with institutions, but also outside of institutions in a significant way. And so, yeah, like we always say, from our standpoint, we love to go to a museum. We like to buy art. We like it when people buy our art. Like all that stuff is really interesting and good. And yet there are, as you say, thumbs on the scale. I don't know. For me, the thing I always got the most from Jackson Pollock, and this is what I always say every single time too, is that I like the idea of the performative element of it, the action painting. It just sounds good. Like I have not slung paint yet, but I would. It sounds like that would feel really good. And again, if you look at the history of painting, then at some point people are going to start talking about the what it the physicality of painting. Because artists think about it. Because they sit in there in the studio, they yap it up with each other, and they start thinking about these things. So maybe also you're having performance art coming out around, or more, I shouldn't say coming out, but performance art happening at that time. The idea of the body as the medium. I really like, uh, I really like the idea of Pollock for that reason. Again, just like more of a conceptual reason why, of actually the fact that it's embodied. And you know, there are physicists who have studied what he did, and it was not really that random. There were there were reasons why he did things to get a certain effect, and I mean, he had a method. He had a method, even though there's a lot of there has to be a lot of freedom in what he's doing to create that type of thing. I mean, maybe as a person too, there was this dichotomy as of control and chaos. I think people like to look at him too as a hyper masculine artist, probably for that reason as well. He was known to be kind of angry and drink a lot, and I don't know. I don't know if people just see the suffering aspect or just what, but they were living in a barn, I think, when he was doing this work or something like that. There was like a group of them living in upstate New York. Um, Actually, you did a nice job writing about that in the article that we did for Cultured Magazine, or for the project we did for Cultured Magazine, writing about him and them winding up there, how they wound up there. They kind of migrated. Then there was an aspect of them like meeting in a bar as well, and then making their way up to upstate New York, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a bar that they'd meet at. I forget the name of it, but yeah, Pollock, Krasner, and who was the
Chamberlain?
last? Yes, Chamberlain. They frequented like either that same bar or they had just like hung around the area. And they would meet quite often. I guess just to talk shop or talk art or this and that, personal relationships and whatnot. And then eventually moved to upstate New York in the Hamptons, in what is now the Hamptons, but back then was not nearly as
Developed or whatnot.
yeah, developed would be the right word for it. And no, they didn't have a barn, but they had a studio and kind of like a big not shack. Shack wouldn't be the right word for it, but they had like a house essentially.
Mhm.
and then
Like a
outside.
farmhouse or something.
Yeah, yeah, basically that, and that's essentially where they work because they like the quiet nature of the Hamptons back then. Um, wasn't a lot of hustle and bustle as it is now, but they liked it as a getaway from the busyness of New York, so that they can, go and do their socializing, in the city, and then when needed, they can just escape to their little sanctuary there.
Yeah, it sounds about right. You know? Truly. You have to have some empty space to make things. And yeah. But the idea of the collector being in implied in an art piece is really interesting too. I don't know, did Jackson Pollock get rich while he was alive? I have no idea. But like I know people will buy shares of paintings and it's a protected asset. People put a lot of effort into creating building value around an art piece over time. If you're a serious collector,
Well,
there's a
and
whole culture that goes into it.
yeah, to answer your question there, so in '45 he married Krasner, um,
Mhm.
who became a major influence on his life, and then he died at the age of 44. So if he was
Yeah,
it
sad.
1912? So 45 they married. That's 33 years. So between that time and between he was 44, so that's what, 9 years. Um, or sorry, not nine, 11 years. The 11 years that he had left, uh, he was able to have his exhibits. Yeah, in December. Oh yeah, then later in December 1956, 4 months after his death, Pollock was given a memorial retrospective exhibition at MoMA in New York. Then a more comprehensive exhibition was held there in 1967. So yeah, I'm certain that he saw some of it when he was alive, but as with most artists, they're worth more dead than alive typically.
Yeah. Scarcity thing. It's the artifact thing. It's the relic thing. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, nowadays there are a lot of artists who are really, really wealthy and they're alive, like David Hockney, or yeah, we mentioned Jeff Koons, Damien Hirst, really big blue chip artists that are just thriving. Damien Hirst piece always comes out too, the one where he bought his own $100 million or something like that diamond encrusted skull, or there was some piece like that he bought it himself as part of the art piece. Art jokes go hard, you know. They're just maybe not that interesting to the average person because they're so nerdy and like cerebral.
Yeah, he purchased £8 million worth of his work.
He's like, all right, I'll buy it.
Oh, thanks, New York Times. Can't even read the article.
No, they always
Yeah,
do that.
looks
And I
like
definitely
he
don't subscribe. Yeah.
looks like yeah, he uh he sold a lot of his art, and then in 2022 he burnt his own art after selling NFTs. Interesting.
Which piece? What? Okay, that's
Uh,
interesting.
the artist told buyers who bought pieces from his latest collection to choose either the physical work or the NFT representing it. Those who chose NFTs were told the corresponding physical piece would be destroyed. Oh, okay. So he put them up in the
So he mixed
digital
it.
world, but like he made sure that the physical copies were burned.
Yeah, interesting. It's interesting. It's not about some right or wrong answer. It's literally just about what's going on and what's interesting at that time. It's always a reflection of the contemporary life that we're living, which
Oh,
is
and he made it an art exhibit. The act of burning itself, he made it as an art exhibit. You see all the firewood and everything here.
wow. That's pretty cool. That's meta if you want to talk about meta stuff for sure.
Interesting.
He's honestly I respect Damien Hirst. Like I
A
gotta
lot
quit
of
saying
people.
like so much. I'm trying.
Yeah, here's a quote from him. A lot of people think I'm burning millions of dollars of art, but I'm not. I'm completing the transformation of these physical artworks into NFTs by burning the physical works. The value of art, digital or physical, which is hard to define at the best of times, will not be lost. It will be transferred to the NFT as soon as they are burned.
Whoa.
That makes sense. Once again, with scarcity,
Transmutation. Yeah. I
many
hope they
have
don't do that to
criticized
us.
many have criticized Hearst for burning his own valuable artworks during a cost of living crisis. Oh, come off it. He's the artist. Like he has every right to do with his work whatever he wishes.
Yeah, people are just player haters all day long. That's all I can say.
Cost of living
Like,
crisis. Her what? So Hearst is supposed to like start a soup kitchen? Like, come on, get off it.
they can go. Everybody just needs to just stay in their own lane. Just, and then if you like it, great. If you don't like it, see ya.
Everybody's a critic.
Everybody's a critic, mm, including me sometimes. I try not to. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, that was really cool. I had not seen that at all.
Yeah, I mean that's one way to do it because now the only piece of that art that exists is in the digital realm, so it automatically transfers the value from whatever it cost physically to the digital, and now like there's no going back. So if that NFT gets lost, then I mean that's the same as if there was a house fire and that painting went up.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, like no, like there's no saved, anything. It's just the NFT there. Yeah, people can like save it like it's like a JPEG or what have you, but if you don't actually have the ownership, then that's different.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole idea behind all that with true ownership. I mean, NFTs did something cool for video artists in particular, and digital artists as well, but I always thought with video art, sometimes you see really cool video art and it's very hard to figure out how people are going to collect it because of the replicability of things, where you could just put it on YouTube. It could be harder to build a sense of value around it in the monetary way because of the lack of exclusivity, I guess, is a way to put it, or the ease of replication. And I thought it was cool. I don't know who's doing it. We are going to do NFTs within the clothing at some point. Like there are a couple of those projects brewing eventually, but that's also a meta. That's like a meta thing too, because we'll have the art on the clothes and then that will lead to the digital artifact and then you'll own the NFT.
Makes them one of
Just fun.
ones, so just a single shirt, not even like hundreds, but like that's it. It's tied to that one NFT, so you own everything.
Yeah, I think we'll probably express it in a number of ways, probably in additions and one of ones. Like I still really want to do a project with one of my friends who's a dancer and basically have film the dance while she's dancing. She's putting art on clothes through her body, and then you buy the individual piece, and then with it you get a video that goes with it. And I don't know, just like there are a lot of cool ways that you could play with NFTs within clothing, whether it's one of one or whether it's an addition of whatever it might be, 2, 10, 30. uh could be cool. Then you could have a show someday where you just hang up your clothes and then everyone can go around and have their VR experience and see the digital embed into the fabric. If the code's even still on there, you have to preserve it in order
Mm-hmm.
to be able to access it. So sort of interesting. And clothing's so ephemeral, right? It does fall apart at some point. So there's an interesting play on everything within that. And maybe we'll have to want to do some other type of physical mint piece, or I don't know. I guess when you get an NFT, you could just log in or something. Like you don't need like a cool, I don't know. You don't need like a cool mini sculpture to access your NFT. That's the whole point, I guess. I would rather, I guess, have a physical object that leads me to the NFT, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. I
But
don't know. I'm going off the rails here.
no worries. But as a side note, in terms of the topic that I wanted to ask you about some time back, but we just never got to. We've touched upon this a couple of times, but I wanted to dig into uh, the experience of going through uh, art school and being in that world and working with galleries and whatnot from your perspective. Because from what you've told me, you've done that for quite a bit of years before Outsider Supply. Um, so I guess just to start, in terms of art school, what was the institution that you went to? What was the actual name of it?
Hmm. I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. So there's a museum in Chicago, has big lions out front, and there's a school attached to it, and that's where I went. It was really fun. It was like night at the museum every night. It was fun and it was crazy. I feel like I have rose-colored glasses in the best possible way because there was a lot of craziness, suffering, whatever. But like, I truly think it's the best art school in the world. It is, it does go back and forth between, for graduate programs, it goes between SAIC and Yale as the top two. I really like SAIC personally. Yale is really cool too. It's maybe more academic, but SAIC is the edge, if you ask me. Probably in the world. Um, I never knew about that school. I never even thought about art school until a process of elimination where I had decided that, yeah, you can go in that direction. It's really there. The campus is a bit spread out, so there's that. That's connected. That's on Columbus Drive for anybody who's a Chicagoan. The museum is rated. I don't know what the recent ratings are, but for a while there, it was the number one museum in the world from TripAdvisor. It's a really wonderful museum. I absolutely encourage anybody to go there. It's not overwhelming. Like the Louvre or something is really big. And I really haven't been to all the museums I'd like to go to, that's for sure. But I can tell you that this place has got one of the most wonderful impressionist exhibits anywhere that you will find. It is, I got stuck there all the time. I would just go in the front door and just get stuck at the Impressionists because it's just such a nice collection. It's some of your favorite like classroom classics, you know, like the La Grande Jatte, like the afternoon, the pointillism. They have that piece right in there, and wonderful collection of Monets. Some of my favorite Monets I've ever seen. And so there's you have the main floor. When you enter here through this front, this is I guess, I don't know if they have it delineated as pre-20th century. I have a wonderful Byzantine collection, all of that type of art, Asian art, random stuff. Like there's a whole exhibit of this lady who just built little doll houses, but they're so involved. It's like dioramas of these little doll houses. They're so involved. Um, it's fascinating, honestly. You could spend a lot of time there. And then on the other side of the museum is the modern wing, and it's just an amazing collection. You'll see stuff that you can't go wrong going to the Art Institute of Chicago as the museum. You'll have a great time.
And the train
And
goes right through it.
yeah, the red line and actually right there, the loop. It's in the loop, so there are several train lines that run right there next to the school, and it was cool. I slept at that school more nights than not. um, it was a cool experience. I am an outsider artist for sure because I didn't really have much training, and I pretty much, yeah, whenever I decided, like, I'd studied journalism, and then I was already into information graphics and things like that within journalism. I wasn't really doing reporting so much. I did do some. and you do all the nuts and bolts, news writing and da-da. But I was leaning toward visuals. I'd had an experience when I studied abroad where I wound up getting myself an internship at a graphic design firm overseas, and that was cool because it pushed me more into art. Like growing up, I can't really say I was exposed to it. Even when I went to school here, I didn't know much beyond the basic like big name artists. And so yeah, essentially I'd graduated, I had decided that journalism was corrupt. There was no way I was gonna do it. I didn't know what to do with myself. I went soul searching for some time, a couple of years. And then I was like, I know, I'll be an artist. Oh my gosh. I really had to like explain that one to my family. And like, you don't understand. I have to I had to like write reasons why, even though I earned my own way there. Like, it's like I had to write out
Oh, for
why.
admissions?
Well, yeah, even just it was just like something that started happening in college. Like, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to study there? Why do you want to study this? I would need to explain myself in writing. Why? And all these years later, my mom just loves my art. She just can't get enough of it. It's really sweet. She's super, both my parents love it. My grandparents loved it when they were here. But yeah, at that time, when people talk about being idealistic, I'm like, I get it. Because I wouldn't even, I lived off like nothing for so long trying to figure out what I was going to do because I didn't want to compromise. So I end up back in my hometown. I almost went to France to school. I got in, I had a roommate out of visa. And then I just knew that if I went to France, A, I would never be coming back. And I wasn't sure I was ready for that. And B, like to America, because I was already so Frenchy at that point. I had been integrating basically. And then I also knew that if I ended up living in France, it would be a cramped lifestyle in the sense that if I got this degree and I wanted to do something different, I would have to start over because they're very strict. You have to have credentials to do whatever you want in society. So, and then also, like a complete psycho, I was like, I want rigor. I want it to be harder. Let me go to the hardest possible thing I can find. That's so American of me to be like that, honestly. So, I mean, but I thank myself because I was outlandish enough to apply to the top schools and get a scholarship to the best one. So it worked out. So this is also lesson number one, just do things. You just gotta be a little bit bold. You gotta be a little bit audacious sometimes. And I had a lot of fun preparing for that too, because I was hanging out with my high school art teacher. She was mentoring me. I put together a really eclectic portfolio. And ultimately, when I went up there, because there was an interview process, I really, first of all, was amazed that I got accepted. And I said to myself, I'm like, I'm not done with school. I need more because I don't know what I'm doing. I need structure. I knew that about myself at that time. And I was like, I'm only going if I can go to the best schools and get a scholarship. I did all this list and I just put together. Actually, I still love the work that I made back then. And when I got up there for the interview, I really understood why it was a good fit for me in that school. And the more I was there, I understood it too. Because it was a rodeo. It was a pure rodeo. And if you could get lost in there and die. Like, you will waste away at SAIC if you don't know who you are to some degree. And you're going to be really tested. You're going to become so self-aware, it's going to make you go insane. And then you're going to come back from it about 5 years later. Like, it really was that intense, to be honest with you.
So what,
And,
in terms of the
yeah.
admissions process, what is it that was actually required of you to get in?
It didn't have anything to do with your GPA. Just your portfolio, really.
They didn't consider GPA at all.
No, and there were no grades there either.
Hmm.
So that was like, that also was really confusing to me. Like, we used to say we were recovering academics because we really, especially in my grad class, it was very small. So the program that I was in for grad school, it's like 5% acceptance rate type, and almost everybody was a scientist actually coming in. It's
So
kind
you
of
weren't,
interesting.
just to be clear, you weren't going for like a Bachelor of Fine Arts. This is where you went to for grad school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Okay.
went for grad school.
Did
Yes.
they have
Yeah.
any prerequisites like you needed to have a degree or diploma of some sort to get in? I'm guessing because masters like you need to do bachelor's first.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I guess so. I'm not sure, like, if you. That's a really good question.
Like
I
did
actually
it
don't.
matter which like did it really matter much like what discipline you came from? Like if I just did like a stint in math and realized that it wasn't for me, then decided to go to art school, all that mattered was the portfolio. They didn't care like what my background was.
No, they would like what you're bringing to the table.
Mm.
Yeah, several of my best friends were computer scientists, and my um, big surprise. I keep hanging out with the computer people. But yeah, like several of my friends were computer scientists and various scientists. There were a few scientists in my class that they were really good.
Okay.
They were really good.
And so in
Hmm.
terms of getting like through the admissions process, what do they actually require? So portfolio, and then you said an interview, and what else?
Recommendation letters. I
Just
was
from like
very
peers
fortunate.
or professors or
Well, I guess it's whoever you think you should have. So I had my high school art teacher, and then I had worked at Duke University for a short time with their marketing team for their medical program. That was a cool short thing where I also became very disillusioned about healthcare, but it was a great experience. Uh, and so the man who had become the creative director there at Duke, he had been I don't know if it was senior designer or creative director at DDBO, which was actually a Chicago-based design firm. Before he came to Duke, he had been in more of like corporate advertising. Um, he wrote a recommendation for me, and I'm blanking on the third one right now. I'll think of it. Who helped me out so much that they helped me. But you know what's beautiful? I felt so honored because somewhere along the way, um, my high school art teacher told me that the head of the department, like maybe I was in my second year, wrote her a letter thanking her for recommending me to go to school there.
oh
I
wow.
felt so honored. Yeah. And I think too, I sort of am just like a little bit of an optimistic presence in places, and that can mean a lot in art. In an art setting as well, because it's like could be so angsty. And I went through it too. Like the less I ate and the less I slept, the more tortured my art became. I It's funny because I said so yeah, so the admissions process was, you I'm sure there was more to it. Like there obviously was an application as well. I don't remember it, to be honest with you. I really remember getting the portfolio in the mail. And then being like Yahoo, and then going up there in March for an interview. One of my undergraduate friends was at Northwestern at the time, so I stayed with my buddy, and I took the train down in the morning to the city, the Red Line, which we saw running right by the museum. It was totally frozen outside. You're used to it. You're Canadian. I had never seen anything like that in my life. Okay,
Hmm.
I was like, I don't even have those kind of clothes, and so I just had this feeling when I was riding that train down along the lake. I was just thought it was so beautiful. And I had a great feeling, and I thought, well, if I can love it here in the middle of March, then I'm sure I can love it in the middle of June. So I had a good feeling going into the interview. And the interview was cool. And yeah, I fit in really well with all those weirdos.
Is it
It's
like a
great.
group audition where you're sitting in front of like several judges, or is it just like a one-on-one with like the head of the program?
Mm. It was a panel. Yeah, I think the almost maybe the whole department was there, actually.
So it was a vote
Everybody.
system. It would be like if they had like majority vote, then you'd get in, or
Yeah, I guess so. Because there are only, like I said, it's like about 5% of people of applicants get in. I don't know how many in
5%.
that particular, yes, in that particular program that I was in. I don't know for the others.
And it was masters
Um,
of what?
Actually, it was, listen, this also I thought I knew what I was getting into, but I had no idea. None of us knew. We thought we were going to do graphic design. No. It was called visual communication design. We were also the
Okay,
outcasts of
well,
art.
if you call it
Yeah.
visual communication design, what else am I left to think besides, oh, okay, this is like for marketing, this is for like communications. Like, what do you? It's in the name. It's in the
Yeah.
name. I'm gonna be doing Pringles. Like, it's in the name.
Yeah. You got to go more meta. You got to go to the meta is meta.
I'm
Like,
communicating through visual elements. Then, okay, well, that's just all art. Then, I mean, you gotta be more specific. Jesus, my
that's
God.
why it was good. At that time, what I told them, because I was like, I like visuals, I like language. I like the idea of visual language as the most universal language because we don't have to have words that we understand and spell out. I remember that being a core of it. And I don't know, there were some other things I was dovetailing together. And that's why it was a good fit, was because I didn't know how to bring my interests together in any setting. And then it was just perfect for there. They're like, oh, bingo. She's the one. Like, it just worked. And it was not there were some, like, I did take some typography classes and stuff that I really liked. But for the those were undergraduate classes. There were very few, there was almost no structure. It's really good training for how to be an artist if
So,
you're
so
gonna
you mean
make it.
there were no like feeder courses? There was just like a slate of courses, and you picked whatever you wanted to take, and you had a certain like amount of credits that you needed to graduate. But realistically, like there wasn't like a Paint by Colors 1 going into Paint by Colors 2 going to Paint by Colors 3. It was just more like, here's a course on Paint by Colors, here's a course on typography, here's a course on 20th century art, and then you just kind of pick whatever it is that you want.
Yeah, like we were required for graduate school to do two in department seminars. That's all you ever had to do in your department was two classes for us.
For a whole week.
Um,
You'd meet twice a
for
week.
a whole for the whole for the whole 2 years.
Right, but the schedule, you would meet like once a week with the class, or
Oh, it depended. 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the class.
okay. But it was two classes for those 2 years.
Let me, yeah, so for the requirements that were with my program were you had to take 4 art histories to graduate. So you had 4 art histories. I ended up taking three. Oh, they were so esoteric too. I actually don't even really remember it. Like I took 3 classes on Deleuze, I think. Who's like a philosopher.
Oh, not Toulouse-Lautrec?
Deleuze,
Oh,
Gilles Deleuze.
Deleuze. Okay.
Yeah. Which honestly, I wrote a lot. I paid attention to those classes. I liked that professor. All I can tell you that I remember from that class is the art of becoming. That's all I remember. And I think that's all that, whenever that happens to me, I've decided that's all I need to remember because I got the point. But like I was really into it at that time. And so those were so you took 4 art history classes and then we had two within the department seminars that we were required to take. And one was narratives. That was a cool class. Really hard teachers, every single one of them. Again, without grades, it was like even more crazy feeling because you're like, just to sit there with critique and there's no grade. Everybody who was transitioning into that felt very confused for a long time. But
Especially
it's
coming
really
from
good.
science and computer science and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like where you're getting A, B, C. And so one was on narratives, and then one I can't even remember what we called it, the Matrix.
So narratives is in like how to tell a narrative through your work, or
Yeah, yeah, it was just like a lot of storytelling, and but within that there was just so much generative practice, like a lot of really any grad school program you go to. Actually, I can't speak for all grad school, but methodology is a huge part of going to grad school generally. It's like your method for solving a problem, for making an idea, for whatever. But like actually just like having methods. So, it could be your method could be that you write down 200 words, like 100 that have to do with this subject, 100 that have to do with this subject, and then you cut them up, and then you stitch them together, and then you move them around, and then you stitch them together, and then you move them around, just to get your brain going and get your ideas going, help you to see connections, help you to make stuff. Like, so there were a lot of generative methodologies that we explored, because what happens when you get creative block and you're creative? Like, you have to figure out how to work through it. So
so how to harness the creative process. That's essentially what you guys walk through. So like you guys got like a Rick Rubin light education.
yeah, except for not, because it was like militant in a way, but yes,
Okay.
we
And
were underslept.
what was
Yeah.
what was the actual like setting like? Like do you walk into like and it's just a studio, or do you actually have desks? Like what is it? What does the room actually look like when you guys are doing these seminars?
Yeah, the seminars were in classrooms with whiteboards. It was in the design department, so it was not like an open studio. I did do classes that were in studios, and I did a lot of work. Like, those were the only two class. I think I did that, and then I took advanced typography, which I really liked. And then I TA'd for typography classes a couple times. That's all I did within my department. Some people did do more. They did like letterpress. They did, I don't know, whatever. They did branding. They did,
Mm-hmm.
etc. But I wound up doing sound art. Like, I wound up doing conceptual writing. I wound up doing sculpture. And then another really cool part of being a grad student is that you advise with a professor each semester. So that counts as one of your classes. And that's where you really, that's your acceleration path. Because again, you get some crazy weirdo with a lot of, who's like seen it all, and they come in, and I I tended to I tended to connect. I had great experiences with my grad advisors. It could be exhausting because we would just sit there for an hour and be like, this idea, this idea, this idea, this idea, this idea, over and over and over and over and over and over. Just turn it over, turn it over. What about this? What about this? What about this? Sometimes you wouldn't even make anything. Like, you're just like, but years later, like, so much work came out of it, honestly. And through the process too, and some of that was meeting artists that I've made work with, was really cool.
Now,
Cause yeah,
now when no,
I made, yeah.
when you say militant in regards to the
Yeah.
seminars, what do you mean by that exactly?
They would give you so much work. They would give you so much work, and then like there was one professor that we called him a designed object. Okay. He was, we weren't sure if he was a human exactly. He was very sadistic. Okay, that class was taught by a sadistic man and a quiet woman who wore like leather harness all the time, you know?
Nude?
No, no, just over whatever. But like, she always had on like some BDSM harness looking thing, you know?
Look like a
But
rat
she was,
cam.
what is that? I'm
Let me show you.
sorry, there's something flying through the air. I keep itching my eyes. I don't know what it is. Um,
Like one of these.
Rap jam.
That's what she looked like.
Yeah, but she did look very cool, I gotta say. She looked cool. She was very unassuming. She was like so quiet. very mild temperament, and then and then her counterpart, this guy, what a handful. Oh my gosh, he made me cry one time in front of class because he made me feel so dumb. I was like, fuck, it's like, I mean, it was intense, like, over what, but the
So
famous
it was just the
story,
amount of work, or
the amount of work, and it was like a torture device in a lot of ways. That guy was like, it was interesting because I took a summer seminar, um, which was a really random like performance writing class. We went to Prague, and it was really random, kind of and weirdo what we made too. But like those teachers taught us the exact same thing in 3 weeks instead of a semester, and we basically just they were like, "You're not doing homework at night. You're going to stop doing work and you're going to go out and have dinner. You're going to go listen to music. You're going to do whatever." Like they didn't overwork us. So later, that was just like an interesting through line that I didn't expect, was that I kind of learned the same thing again from a totally different vibe. And
from a nice, decent
uh
person?
right, yeah, that didn't want to like torture us. He wanted to torture us. He looked like a torture device.
Wow.
Yeah. It makes you
That's
better kind of. Yeah.
that's very weird. Like, why would you? It's one of those things. It's like it's just such a polar opposite. Like, how could you be an artist and a fucking asshole? Like to people that are going through something that you probably went through and are struggling in the same way, and the vibe and course of everything that you choose decides to just go into this antagonistic way. It's just I've had those before too. Like famously, we had this one teacher in middle school. I forget his name. It's honestly good. I probably shouldn't say it, but his whole thing. I think his anger came from like he had an accident with he was working with some wood and his hand got into the saw blade and a couple of his fingers got like maimed off, and I think as a result of that, because he obviously works with his hands a lot, I think that kind of changed him in a lot of ways. Like people said he was an asshole even before then, but I think that just kind of compounded it, and he was like known to be a very very angry person, and that's just so strange because like art class felt it didn't feel like a pressure cooker to me, but it certainly felt that like for something that is supposed to be fostering creative and open expression, an environment where I'm supposed to feel not judgment free, but
Mm,
um maybe
so
judgment
you
isn't the right word for it, but like just I don't know, less analytical and less like grade focused. He was like completely on the opposite end. Um, and he was just kind of an asshole too, because like the entire year, one year he was so lazy with his grading and everything that he never gave us like any assignments. He just like wanted us to do this free expression. But obviously the school, has standards, and we're still middle school. It's not university. It's not post grad. Nothing like that. And so at the end of the year, in the last like 2 months of school, he made us do this project that had three parts to it. You had to do a diorama, you had to do a physical representation of one of the pieces that you liked, and you had to do like this long ass PowerPoint on one artist of your choosing. And all of this, it was essentially like a finals cranked within like the last 2 months of school while we're juggling everything else. I'd stayed up late nights. My parents were helping me with the work. Like it was just awful. Um, the grading of
yeah.
it was I even remember it now. Like man, like the sometimes kids would go up to do their presentation, and obviously they didn't think it through and they saved it on a Mac and it's not compatible with a Mac and you had to get it like for PC or whatever, and like kids would they wouldn't cry, but they would like you could see that they were just anxious wrecks of themselves. And looking back, it's like, dude, that was just middle school. Man, like relax. Like what are you talking about? Why? Why this need for anger? I don't know what it is, but like there is that kind of dynamic to art teachers sometimes where they're just absolutely right assholes.
Yeah, I know, that's what I thought. It was gonna be kumbaya, and it was like cutthroat competition, even though there were no grades, and how could you even determine what was the best art? But like, yeah, there are a lot of tortured artists. That is a famous one too. You'd think it's gonna be like la-di-da, but there are a lot of angry artists. Hitler was an angry artist, for example, like you gotta watch out for those ones. That's actually what you have to watch out for those, the angry, crazy ones, because they're like dissociated and They will torture you for fun because they're psychos. But that guy did do me a favor by being so interesting,
He showed you how
It's
not
like,
to be.
yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting because that class also pushed you to some level of self-awareness that most people don't get to in their life. I don't think at all. It's almost like if you've never owned a business and you've only ever bought things, it's like really hard to imagine life as not a consumer just, like so there was a lot of that to it that was good. Again, I would have to go back and look through things to tell you exactly what I learned, but there were things like I learned that I really like mapping things. I should really do more of this because that was a lot of fun. Conceptual maps. And I think also kind of like famously in my own life. So at the end of each semester, you have a critique, and in the fall it would be your own department only, like professors from your department, and then in the spring it was interdepartmental, so it could be professors from anywhere. And so on my first critique that semester, I just every single piece of work I made was kind of throwaway, honestly. Like it was like a splatter scatter shot. Like just I made one of everything. I had photo pieces where I was in them. I had photo pieces where I was taking them. I was doing video art. I was doing sound art. I had sculptures. I had
So
like
this is
you
where
name it.
you would exhibit your works throughout the year, and then the professors would go around in the program and critique it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this was like, yeah, at the end of a semester, you would gather up whatever you wanted to show, and then you would just host a critique. They would come in and look at what you had to show, whatever you chose. It didn't have to be like, oh, this is my homework assignment by any means.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that first critique was crazy because the masochist was in there, and then there was an art history professor. Like somebody couldn't make it, so I did have one non-departmental person in there. He was an art history professor, and they obviously already had beef. But that critique was such a rodeo. I'm so innocent. I just show up. I'm like, I don't know that I think any of this is good, but I'm just making a ton of stuff. Um, I had done paintings where it was kind of Eve Klein stuff where I like painted my body and like da, da, da. I just was doing everything. And uh, that critique ended in those two professors getting in a fight.
Like a fist
And
fight.
not only that, I don't know. That would have been the wimpiest fist fight because that guy was really, really
So
when
the angry jackass and the art history prof. You mean
yeah.
they got into
The
a fight over
the
what? Like misinterpretation or?
my opinion is that the art history teacher thought that the masochist was totally off base in the way that he was teaching and he wasn't leading us to make good work.
Mm-hmm.
That was my interpretation of it. And sort of like looking at the potential that people had and being like, they probably could be making something that's more lasting for them. That's what I felt like because it was really, really like heavy process work. And whatever it was, they continued the fight in the teacher's lounge, like after the critique. So, so that actually was a pivotal moment in my life though, because not only was it really stressful, because I was like, oh no, like not only do I not even know, like, am I doing anything that's good or at all? But then also they fought over it. I was like, and it was so, and you were like so tired by that time too, just in the semester. So the next semester, I really subconsciously started creating controlled environments. And that's when I became more of an installationist. Um,
What do you
and
mean by
all
that?
I did for yeah, so I was like, okay, I was like, I'm gonna like just present a couple things, and I'm gonna try to like I didn't want another fight breaking out. That was like part of my goal. I was like, I don't really want another fight breaking out. So I was like, I'm gonna make sure everybody has a good time. So then I start hosting like a that's honestly, I am sort of like Martha Stewart, but not because she's creepy. But like I like to like host parties and do those type of things. So I was like, I'm gonna do that. So you don't have like a lot of options for where you can host critiques. It could be like an empty classroom. I didn't have at that time. I did argue my way into a second studio because I had filled up my studio and I needed another studio. Like I was making so much work,
By your
and
studio,
I
do you
wanted.
mean the space that you had on campus?
Yes, yeah, they would give you a studio.
A single
Uh,
studio for yourself, or space within a studio that you shared?
mm, the design department was shared open space. So uh, that was like either you had a desk or you had kind of like a cubicle-ish kind of area, and you had your own space. But I was making like giant sculptures, and I was making whatever. So, um, my second year, it's so funny. This lady, she was the dean at that time. She's like, tell her to quit asking. I'm like, ah! I kept asking, and I finally got it. And I wanted to be also more with like fine art students too, like other than just with the graphic design type vibe. So
What does
I
what look
did
like?
argue my way. Click in there. Let's see. Wait, hold on. Sorry, I have to get so close to the screen to see that. Oh yeah, that is one of the classrooms. I don't know where that is though.
Like this one here?
Um, that looks like the advanced painting studio maybe for undergrad maybe. Yeah, it was like that kind of space. And then I argued my way into
Getting a second studio?
yeah, so I had two at one point in my second year. Um which I don't think they really intended me for to have two, but I had a desk already, so they just it was like whatever. But then I had another space, another building that was with I don't know, painters and filmmakers and sculptors and stuff. And
Right. So setting up your seminar in the second studio.
oh yeah, so basically like yeah, when you're hosting a critique, you're gonna be maybe in like it's not like you're in a gallery. I'll put it that way. It's not like you're in a gallery per se. So at that time I didn't have this what I would call true art studios and the design studio only. So I decided to host my critique in the sound art room. I had taken a sound class that semester, and all I present and I basically made a long table. I didn't do anything. I just used the classroom chairs and whatnot. There was a lamp in there that I thought was great. I could turn off the fluorescent lighting. So I had the lights off. I had this one lamp on in the corner. It's pretty cool because you had like the soundboard, like the analog mixer and
Mm.
everything. It was neat in there. And it was like acoustically interesting because it was damp, like there were dampers,
Yep.
wall panels and carpet, and so it made this intimate space. And so I hosted a tea party for my second critique. And I don't know, I had gone to Macy's and I had bought like all this random like Wedgwood and just like cute bone china and Japanese teacups, and I had basically a tea party set up. And
Just to
so the
make sure there's no
professors came.
fights.
Yeah, I was like, let's keep everyone happy here. So we had a tea party, and then I had one sound piece that I played. The tea party was also the art, and then also I had made an artist book. It was fun. Like I had glued some Smarties into this artist book. I just like hot glued them in there or whatever. And I look up and one of the professors is licking my book. I was like, I'm so sorry there's no LSD on there for you. Like, hey. I know they were probably really wondering. They would have been down with it. I've never done really those things, so I would never try it. But that was so unpredictable too, that he would lick the book.
Well, you didn't give any instructions. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it was just outlandish stuff like that, you know? And that was a really fun critique. They had the best time. They're like, "This is the best critique we've been to." I'm like, "Yeah, because 'cause I'm giving you something, like, honestly. You like, it's also for you." Um, People had a great time, and, near the end of it, I learned something really special too, was that this guy, like, happened to open the door. He didn't realize there was a critique going on. So all this fluorescent lighting floods in the room, and it just kinda broke the spell. And one of the ladies that was in there, I didn't know what department she was with. She was the head of, it was called the AI ADO department. It was architecture, interior architecture, and designed objects. She said when that happened that she had been so taken in. She said this. She said, "There's really something to be said for creating a space and time outside of space and time." And she said, "I am the head of the AIADO department and I hate these chairs." And I didn't even think about what I was sitting in. And that to me was like, I felt like I felt so happy. That was like, I felt really successful, which I wouldn't have even, I wasn't even thinking that deep. But like, that translated later, and tea parties have continued to act tea like hot tea and tea parties have continued to actually be part of my art practice over the years, and it's a wonderful thing to diffuse any type of situation. I gotta say, like that's what, like years later, or not that many years later, a couple years later, when I had opened a shop in the south side of Chicago, kind of like unknowingly, not really realizing what that might mean, because I just like went to the art district and didn't think about, I mean, I'm from like really, really small town, so I wasn't thinking about Chicago things, maybe. But that was my that was my methodology too. Like whenever somebody came in, they were like a gangster type. I'd be like, "Do you want some tea?" And then that was like a gallery, just white walls, but we had covered the floor with AstroTurf completely, like this best AstroTurf you can get. Like you go to Home Depot, we were hauling those rolls of AstroTurf down 8 Halstead Street, like on our shoulders. We were so silly but hardcore. And so the whole room, and people loved it because, see, that's how that all began with the clothing after school and with the space. We're like, well, what do people need? What do they want to see? Like Chicago's got no grass, no sun, no warmth. Unless it's so hot you can't stand it. A lot of the year, like there's no nature there,
Hmm.
and or so we're like, I was like, well, people need green grass and blue skies, and that's really how the whole clothing thing even began. And so they would come in, be totally taken off guard, first of all, by the fact that there was astroturf in there, and it just felt like a spaceship. People would be like, whoa, I feel like I'm walking on the ceiling. Like, cool, you know? And then I would just make some tea, and I would give them like the sweetest teacup of all time. I would sit on the astroturf and became friends that way. So
Right on.
sometimes art might have a function too, you know, the way it ends up happening. But
Yeah. And so with the critiques that you've done, um, how would you, if you were to recommend to an art student, like how, what would be the approach or like a philosophy to it? Because I'd imagine that there's like obviously with every single critique and every single artist, different style, different type of mediums and all that, different ways you want to present it. But if you're just thinking like broad strokes in the meta of setting up a critique, um, to make the art as like impactful as possible or to create like the right set and setting, uh, what would you say would be elements or things to think about?
mm, well, the thing I would say is that you have to be an ocean that refuses no stream. You have to hear it all, and you need to accept it as a perspective that maybe you didn't see. That's the best thing I could say. And
Well, I mean,
ultimately,
even
like,
like setting up the critique, like setting up the space for the critique. Like that's
oh,
like accepting the
yeah.
criticism itself, but in terms of like how you went about it and setting up this critique that made such an impact, and you
Mm,
eventually used it in your own business. Um, in
mm,
terms of setting one up as a student, what would you say would be a good way to go about it?
mm. I would say trust the process, keep making stuff, bring the things that you want feedback on and that you like, and then go from there. Like the next semester after that, I had the coolest critique. I was making killer work. They were just happy. They were like, more of this, and they were having a great time. Like, and it was totally a different setting. It was like in a little studio, and I just had sculptures around all over the place and smart water bottles and you know, like so every single one's going to be different and you're going to evolve. So what you need to do is just be willing to evolve, I think, and be willing to share and evolve. And and people will see things that you don't see, and that's the whole reason why you want that feedback. It's not really prescriptive. It's literally a reflection of somebody's experience. So if you want technical insight, make sure you have people that know technique there. If you want an art historical insight, make sure that you have someone with an art historical insight there. But there's like a lot to be said for just having an open conversation with anybody and just getting their reactions to what you're showing them. So the way you set it up, like installation became a big part of it for me. But so that maybe is something to consider, like how you set it up or what kind of space you want to be in. And yeah, it's like iron sharpens iron. So, you know, I don't know. At my last critique for like the MFA show, I had done an installation, like a neon installation. Also had AstroTurf coming in there. It was like starting already. I basically made an indoor park. I painted a whole. I had like this little room. I painted it all as dark green. I took Monopoly houses and made a grid all over the entire thing. Took forever. And then I made 2 benches that weighed 1,000,000 pounds because I asked the art teachers how to make these things. You would have thought they were concrete, like they weren't though. And like so I had these 2 benches facing each other. And then when you walked in, I just had it was like green neon, like it was just simple. It just said welcome back. And then when you left above the door, it said sorry to see you go. It's kind of like somebody described it as kind of airplane language. I thought it was kind of interesting. And
We thank
but
you
it
for
was
flying
just
with Mackenzie Airlines. We know that you have many choices.
yeah, exactly. It's like a little park bench in there. You sit across from each other. People had fun in there. And
Fun.
the
That's
critique,
also that's also an element that keeps coming up. Make it fun.
make it fun. Life's too short. Have fun, please. Please, thank you, says Jesus or something. It's like, make sure to have fun. It can be too serious. And but it was funny because even in that setting, like let's say like 90% of the people were vibing with it, or they had just sort of like their respectful commentary. And this one guy's like, this is just so sinister. I'm like, oh. I was like, what? It's like
Which part?
off the wall.
The teacups, the vitamin water, the astroturf, the nice frilly neon signs. That's sinister. Okay.
I know, yeah, I guess it was the neon install on that one. And
That was probably a bitter Chicagoan who had lived there all his life and gotten used to just seeing all this brutalist monoliths all around him, and he hibernates during the winter and is only awake during, or sorry, hibernates during the summer and is awake only during the winter, so he sees all the shitty parts of living in Chicago. So the moment that he sees any genuine form of self-expression of like a pink flower, he's like, "Oh, that can't be real. What a
yeah,
psychopath. What kind of a Chicagoan makes that?"
so real. Yeah, it's like you don't know. Like they could just be in a bad mood that day. That's what's interesting about critique. It's like pretty raw.
Were you allowed
So,
to serve food as well?
probably.
That's a life hack,
And like,
because like there's statistics that you can look up for like judges when they do their ruling whenever it's after lunchtime. statistically speaking, they are actually much more lenient towards the kind of sentencing that they give to criminals. And if that's
Oh,
working for judges in terms of life and death scenarios, I'd imagine that comes in handy just about any situation. You know, give food
right.
whenever you want to, like, I don't know, either break some bad news, or you're dealing with something sensitive and you want to get the interaction right. That probably doesn't hurt.
Snacks are always welcome, especially sweet things, you know? It's like, yeah, you could always. That's what you set the tone. Like, that's also something that was said to me years later by somebody that was not from art school, but was an artist like out in the wild in Chicago. And he's like, Mackenzie, you're setting tones and breaking bones. And I thought that was like one of the coolest things that was ever said to me because sometimes, yeah, like art can become like a survival technique sometimes too. And um, so I think it's always just like sometimes you might be making things. Okay, a lot of people debate, or some people think or don't think, am I making this art for myself or to share? Am I thinking about the audience at all? You can do whatever you want, you know, you can do it however you want. So I think that's also maybe part of your practice is you're like, if you're wanting your art to communicate something clearly, then we could get into the debate of what is art versus design, which people love to hate. But like, I personally view it as a continuum. I used to catch a lot of flack for this too. People told me they felt sorry for me. I'm like, come on, bro. It's like,
Because of what? What do you mean? Like, because of your work? Like when they would critique your work, that's what they said.
they felt sorry for me that I thought about the design of things, I guess. But I tried to explain to them that you're also designing even when you're making art. Like it's like they're it's a continuum. Some things are more like, okay, I'm painting lines on the road so that people know to turn right. There
Yeah,
could be that.
function over form and
But
all that.
yeah. But then also like within your art, inherently your every single thing that you could possibly create is a reference to the world, right? It's like, so if I
Well, of
choose the
course.
color red or blue, it's like it's gonna have resonance in these ways. And you might decide mathematically to put something here and there. You tell me, is that art or design? You
Or
know?
yeah, or like if you want a painting or a piece of art to attract the viewer to a certain portion of the piece, that means that you have to angle your lines in such or such a way and form it around it. That's also part of design. I'm just confused as to like why was it like just a fellow art student trying to be like, you know, I don't know, seem more
Yeah.
smart than they actually are trying to say it, or was that like an actual like professor?
That was an art student. That was a performance
Oh,
writer.
okay.
And I was
Then
like,
that okay. Okay, that
yeah.
explains it. Well, no, because like I'm not even. I've never gone to art school, right? I have no
Yeah.
background in this whatsoever. I've only had a few years of my life where I was like creating art just for the sake of it. So I'm not in the world by any means, but even I know enough to say like, yeah, that just seems like a bitter person. That just seems like somebody that is trying to make themselves feel better about their own work that they clearly feel inferior about. Because like that's like what is even or what is the argument to be had here? It's like saying it's like the age old argument that like that boys used to have in middle school. Oh, the PlayStation is better than the Xbox. Like that. This is not even the question that we're supposed to be asking. This you've lost the plot. This has no meaning
You've lost.
whatsoever. Like art versus design, like what does that even debate even amount to? It's the same fucking thing. Like I'm having a hard time seeing where this argument even lies conceptually. I don't get it.
You listen, you will get it. I'll tell you exactly how you'll get it. Because go to the most expensive art school in the country and find all the Marxists you want. You know what I'm saying? It's like, makes no sense.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, it's kind of like that. Like, it's just, that's what it is. Like, you can't, it's very hard to be extremely pure if you're not. Listen, I have no idea what that kid's situation was, actually. But it was just sort of funny. I was like, haha, all right, well, you either. I think he was saying that he felt bad for me because I was going to make money someday. I'm like, all right,
Oh
well,
no. Oh no, please no. I would hate to
no,
make money. No.
never, none of that.
No, please no.
No,
No.
no.
I just want to consume.
Yeah, like if you're doing that, then you're in a very particular position to even be saying that. But I also went through that too. I was like, I hated money. And now I just see it as energy. But like, um, you know, and I like to go places and do things and I like to, whatever. It's not like it's just a practicality. It's like it's pretty practical. It's coming from somewhere. Whether he's making it, or his parents are making it, or the government's giving it, or whatever. Somebody's working hard so that that guy can say such a thing, which is kind of beautiful, you know?
Yeah,
It's interesting to be that much of a hardliner. Like,
that actually makes me wonder how many were there any trust fund kids in your program that you saw going to school?
I feel like grad students were less like that. Um, you know.
Because at
But
that
oh
point, it's a
yeah, I
certain
mean it's
level
like
of commitment.
yeah, and it's like a lot of the undergraduates like I mean, it was every type of person really. It was a big decision to go there financially if you didn't have a scholarship and
What was tuition?
um I think for undergraduate it costs 250,000.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it's expensive. It's the most expensive
250,000
school.
for 4
Yeah,
years?
yeah, it's pricey. Yeah.
That's not pricey, Mackenzie. That's you're talking about like the GDP of a small island.
I know. It's crazy. A lot of crazy rich Asians.
250,000.
I don't know. I can't remember what tuition exactly was, but it's like by the time you added in living and everything, it
What
was
was
like that.
what was it for you for your masters then? If you didn't include the scholarships or anything like that.
Without scholarship, I think it was gonna be 80K.
80,000 for just the what was it, the 2 years that you said?
2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
But
twice
fortunately,
that's twice my tuition, and I spent 6 years in uni.
hey, I mean,
That's
I
crazy.
went to I went to Carolina in-state undergrad, and I had scholarships and stuff for there too. I didn't pay hardly anything for undergrad, it's like by comparison. But yeah, it was pricey. It's a private esoteric art school. I don't know. Like I said, I never even heard of it before I applied there. I got kind of lucky, I think, that I was that crazy and very blessed. That's why I worked myself to death too, because I was like, oh my gosh, I got in here and I got a scholarship. I have to like, and I just like, I worked so hard that I almost like lost it. But
Interesting.
it's funny because I worked hard in undergrad, but like not like that.
So
Sort of
in terms
funny.
of actually like getting the prerequisites to graduate, you would have these critiques that they would do at the end of the year, where you guys collect all your works and do this big exposition. Um, what was actually the criteria that you were, not the criteria, but like what was the actual like um, the achievements that you needed to accomplish in order to actually secure a diploma? Because like I can't just like Duchamp it the entire time. I can't just like take found objects
Yeah,
and paint them. I could if I
okay.
wanted to, and then I could graduate with the like diploma and everything, and they wouldn't. I mean, even like, what if the professors like every single one of them said like my work is shit. This has like this is derivative. This is stupid. This like I would still get the diploma.
Yeah. I mean, there were some basic things like it was pass fail, and that was supposed to be based off of usually attendance.
Hmm.
It was really up to you. Like, it was really, really up to you. Undergraduate had more requirements, for classes, and I can't say exactly what, but I always wished I could have taken it was called a core class. It was just like a semester long where you did a little bit of everything. Like you maybe painted in every medium, you worked in the wood shop, you did metal, worked in the foundry, did really cool. Like you could do I thought that was like I wished I had taken that basic intro materials kind of study class because I just thought that seemed like the coolest class. But um yeah, there so for grad school you needed to be in attendance, you needed to quote pass. But ultimately that's why I'm saying it's really good. It actually it does prepare you for life, honestly. It was very sink or swim. I saw a lot of people get lost. Like they got lost in the whole thing. And I think it's designed like that because they want you to be it to be your art practice. And it's really muddy like in ways and but a lot of people thrived like also. I some of my friends they are amazing artists. They're like doing great, especially the painters that I know. Some of them are just doing really well, highly collected by really famous collectors in museums. Like they're, and that was also for mostly for undergraduates that I knew. And so, you know, the culture and the caliber of people that went there was good. Even if they were the crazy rich Asians, like they still had to do stuff to get in. They still had to have caliber of things. Even though one of my friends who was actually in my program said that she got in because she had her ex-boyfriend make all her work. Like you're a psycho, you know, like and that was just so funny. Oh my gosh, you know. But
So
and
the
yeah,
essence of the master's program, it's to help you refine your creative process, the means by which you exhibit your works, and essentially be placed in an environment where you are rubbing shoulders with the people that are really in tune with this, have had decades of personal success and training and education. It essentially buys you entrance into a world that you temporarily occupy for 2 years, in which
yeah,
what you make of it is entirely up to you, and how you come out of it on the other end is entirely up to you. But in terms of set standards or grades or any actual, like, you know, A to B to C, that kind of process, it doesn't exist. It's just, okay, well, you can go to that program and you can just make absolute, like, awful, dog water, like, just shit, just like nothing, like no show of creativity, no show of originality, nothing like that. They would still let you have a diploma, but then you're just left with what?
what yeah, what you put into it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Most
Okay.
people cared. Like most people cared. Um most people cared a lot. Most people are, you know, sleeping at school at least some nights. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I did see people that I felt like for the grad program, like the year before me, I felt like there were a lot of people that went back to grad school because they didn't know what to do. Like it was that little error right there. And I felt like it was so different. The class above me was so different. It was like a generational divide or something.
In what way?
No. Our class was my grade was really intense. Like we were an intense bunch, even though everybody was a bunch of sweeties. Like everyone was so sweet. But yeah, almost every night there was at least you knew if you were sleeping at the studio, somebody else was also there. Like people were sleeping in the studio all the time. Um, one girl got ulcers, one girl fainted. Like, you know,
For what though?
from
Like, what is the actual thing that's driving them to make that personal sacrifice? Like, what's the rush? Where's the hurry?
This is probably why I'm not able to be as prolific as I was right now with Outsider Supply back then, because I kind of did so much. Because you wanted to. I mean, that's again, like if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be an independent artist, which I didn't know I was going to be an entrepreneur at that point, but really being an artist is very entrepreneurial. And you're going to have to be your own standard kind of thing. Like you're going to have to be the one that stays motivated, that has a vision, that actually makes the thing happen. And I mean, my friends were ambitious too. So, of course, like if they wanted to come out of school and like I thought I was probably going to do advertising after that, even though I went into it highly idealistic, but I just didn't know what to do. You know, I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll come out and be like an advertising," even though I'd already turned down an advertising job like right before I went to school to work on Coca-Cola and stuff like that because I don't drink Coca-Cola. I don't believe in that stuff, you know? So it's like I didn't want to go advertise for it. So I wound up where I started at the end of it. I was like, okay, well, ideally I'm not going to be working for big companies like that. Some of my friends went to, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's just not what I wanted to do. And some of my friends did go to some great design firms in Chicago, big and small. One of my friends runs, I assume she's still there. There's a really interesting video art exhibit at a skyscraper called 150 Riverside. And she's a video artist. Like, see, she's a really cool person. We should actually totally have her on. And also when we do, I gotta be there too. She's like one of my besties. I haven't talked to her in so long. But she was so cool. She was from Beijing. She was a computer scientist. She came to the US for grad school. She had her various reasons why she didn't want to go back to China. And also, like, I don't know, she just had an interesting life situation. Her mom was a professor and her dad was a music producer over there. And she actually, as a child, sang this jingle to this, like, one famous, like, kids show over there. So it's like she's kind of like this interesting girl, really smart. She came to the US, got her master's in computer science. So she already had a master's. And then she didn't want to do it, and she did not want to go back to China. So she got herself into art school. She wanted to make art. And I've never seen anybody work that hard. She worked like her life depended on it because it kind of did.
Yeah.
You know, in her view, it did because it meant the difference between staying and going and living a life she wanted to live versus not. And she was the one that stayed in the studio every night for 3 years. She did a 3-year program. Because if you really had no experience in art, but you had potential and they like, you know, it was a good thing, then there was like it was called a PMFA. So you'd have like 1 year before you entered the MFA program. So she did that. And I mean, if you look up her artist resume of like where she's shown, I don't even know how she does it. It's sheer willpower because
What's her name?
her name is Yuga. It's Yuge. And her last name is Zhou, Zhou. Yes, my girl. She's a cool human. Extremely intense, but so calm. Like, and so she's the one, I assume she's probably still there, but doing 150 Riverside. Like, look what she's up to. Wait, is that her work in Times Square?
Yep,
Where is that?
Times Square.
Get out of here. Yeah, she's fucking hardcore. Oh my gosh, I haven't talked to her since a little bit. Like, I'm way overdue to go to Chicago. So there you go. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's why people are going crazy, you know? Because look at what she's done.
It's a chance to
Yeah.
be one of the greats.
Yeah. I'm so proud of her. Ah!
And because of the 5% acceptance rate.
Yeah, hardcore. Gotta be hardcore. You gotta have the it factor of some kind to like make it. And but yeah, that's beautiful. I feel so excited for her. Okay, I gotta call her. Um, yeah. But she's, you know, I'm like just enjoying looking at what she's been making. That's actually really interesting because I've known her for so many years now, and um we've made some art together too. Like and it's cool to see where it's at right now because she was really into just like mirrors and fractals and these things. Oh my gosh, she's going crazy. Look at her. That's such a big deal. Like the last time I checked in on her, just the amount of places that she had shown her work is amazing. I really haven't shown work in a gallery setting in so long, and I took all that stuff down because I need to make my own website finally because I haven't had one of those for a while. But also like I had all my exhibitions on LinkedIn because I was like I have this it's gotta get written down, and but I took down my LinkedIn because I don't want to be on there. But like uh yeah, we had fun. We might have almost died, but we had fun. Yeah, see? She's doing it. Yeah.
For the chance to even be put in a position to do something like this, that's the reason for it all. For you to get hooked into the industry, rub elbows with the people that are responsible for setting stuff up like this, and help you facilitate the whole process.
Yeah. Yeah, she's more determined than like any woman I've ever seen. I'm telling you, it was like and I just looking at her aesthetics now, what she's doing and everything is really interesting. Like it's literally the through line is amazing. When she first got to school, like when she was there, we I'm like we did start the same time. Um I think that's how that worked. We started at the same time. She was just doing simple photography. Like it was, you wouldn't have maybe noticed it even, like, you know? And yeah, willpower. But I'm telling you, she makes art like her life depends on it. I've never seen anybody like that. Like that.
I'd imagine living in China will do that to you.
Yeah, she really, really didn't want to go back. You know, I just know that much. And she wanted something else for herself, and she didn't want to do computer science. So it's so exciting. I'm just enjoying seeing these things.
Well, she chose right. We get to
Yeah,
enjoy these pieces now.
yeah, yeah. And I'm sure, I don't know if she still is, but like I said, she was the director at 150 Riverside in Chicago, which that was that was a relatively new skyscraper, probably about 10 years old. And yeah, they have this video wall in there. So that's
Whoa.
like where yeah, it's really cool. And so she curates that, or she did. It's really it's actually so big. That video is almost not really able to show how big it is.
Let's see if we can
It's
find
neat.
a better perspective.
Yeah. And I think too, like, see, that's where it's like, okay, you're in Chicago, you're doing these things, and then you're like, the Pritzkers or whatever were big funders in that building, I believe. Which is they're controversial too. But yeah. Isn't this really cool, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. She had an office like way up in the building. It's really cool. Okay, we'll have to collaborate with Yuga. It's time. This is what I keep saying too.
If
Is
we can
like
get
I
her,
got.
if we can get her at this
Oh
point.
yeah, we can. I know it. Yeah, yeah. She's like she literally. We were best friends. Like yeah, we haven't talked in a while, but those things don't change.
We'll invite her
Like
for a tea party.
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's right. I need to just invite her down to North Carolina or something. I need to go to Chicago real big bad way. And but yeah, I keep mentioning too. I'm like I definitely like some of my compadres from school. Like we should definitely reach out and interview them and see about collaborating because some of them are like just they make amazing work. You know, the thing about art, it's so funny. This happened to me the other day. I was like I was crashing out, so I went to for a drive. Okay. This is literally how it happened. And so I go to this little gallery. I was actually in search of like a pillow and I couldn't find one. And this lady's like, "Oh, try this gallery." So I tried it. And I went in and I was just poking around. And it was real low key. And there were some good pieces in there that I really liked. And so I I don't know, I'm over here on this side and actually I picked up this little bowl here. Well, actually I've got stuff in it. But like I was like, "Oh, I like this bowl." So I pick up this bowl and I wanted to buy every coffee mug too because I'm really into coffee mugs right now. Like I want like every ceramic piece and like every ceramic mug. I've been buying so many ceramics. Uh and so I get this bowl on one side of the gallery. And I'm just walking around, do. And I walk to the other side of the gallery and I pick up this little vase. Totally different style, almost. I could go get it if you want to see it.
Sure.
But okay, let me get it. I know. It's so funny because this era will end of like the live yappenings live from my living room floor, but that's where I'm keep doing these things at right now. It's like genuinely. Um okay, so then I find this little thing and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So I and it was the same artist, you know?
Oh.
This happens to me all the time. And that's how you know you really like somebody. You could pick two random things and it's the same person. I got this too recently. I thought this was really pretty.
All handmade.
Yeah, this is a local potter from around here. Let's see it saying. They were born in Augusta. They live around here in North Carolina. I just thought it was really pretty and I've got kind of like a little motif going on. There's a little paper in here too because I just got this. It kind of explains it. But so these are my new collections last week, honestly. And yeah, like when you like an artist, I always say it's like you just like their brushstroke. That's what you like about them. You like their signature in some way. Whether you could look at it as their like almost energetic soul print signature. Like that's really what you like. It's like when you like a musical artist, or let's say you like a rapper. Okay, a rapper is an even kind of more interesting one to look at because what you really like is their tone of voice and their flow and what they talk about. But it's really largely the tone of voice, I think, you know? And it's just funny how you can like things and just genuinely you just like their art. You like their art.
Yeah.
And it's like a fun surprise. Like I saw like Mondrian, like you know, he's so famous for the reductivist grid paintings. Um but I saw a piece by him. It was an exhibit in the Guggenheim in New York.
Oh, these, yes.
Yeah, right. So he's not like that. He's really well known for that, but um, and they're cool. They're notable. It's like a whole thing. Uh,
Modern stained glass.
modern stained glass.
Stained glass for the aspiring brutalist.
Yeah, I mean one. Yeah, it's like again, you understand how somebody gets to this point because they go back to primary. Like you can understand how, as a thought process, when you look at it, you could think you understood how they got there eventually. Even though you might not create that exact same thing, but the humanity in the art is being able to say, oh, you may or may not understand it, but you could somehow relate. I think that's why these things become famous, like these type of things. There's something relatable about it.
Mm-hmm. So you were saying you saw
And
it at the Guggenheim?
yeah, I saw a piece of his at the Guggenheim that was so different. It was so different. I loved it. I'm like, I could get it for you and send it to you on my send it to you. I'm like, how quickly could I get it? Is a great question. Because I know I have
this one?
It was so different. It had nothing to do with these grids. Okay, just bear with me and I'll show it to you. It's not that far back in here. But I like loved that piece. And I
Wow,
was
he was
so
rocking the Hitler stash.
Who came first? That's a good question.
Probably Hitler.
Oh no. Okay, wait. Can you see that if I do that? See, that's the same artist. Excuse me, I love that piece. I almost said the F word. That's how much I like it.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a couple of his landscapes here that are, yeah, completely different than what he's known for.
Yeah. I was amazed. It's hard to show like from here. I don't know what the piece is called, but honestly, it was gorgeous. It was at the Guggenheim if anybody like cares, and I'm being like so silly showing it to you like this, but yeah. Ding.
Nice.
It was really cool. Anyways, turns out we like art.
Turns out, who would have thought it?
Who'd have thunk it?
I was thinking of winding down in about 15 minutes or so, if that's all right.
Yeah, I'm hungry, honestly.
Yeah, we've gone on for about 2 hours now. Is there anything else that you wanted to speak on in terms of your experience with art school? Because we haven't even gotten to like your time at the gallery or anything even beyond that, or dealing with institutions, which we can certainly save for another episode. But just to wrap up about your experience in that master's program, if there's anything else you wanted to say.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I agree. Let's save the art boards and the this and that for later. Because that's also fun and a whole bunch of shenanigans too. And really interesting, and that was a great honor too, those things that I've been invited to participate in over time. What I would say, okay, so it's like advice for art school. If anyone wants advice that they didn't ask for. Take care of your health. Period. That is the most important thing.
That's advice for school in
Honestly.
general. It's like not it seems romantic or like in that time, because you're like, oh man, I can hustle, and you're in your early 20s, and you wake up and you're not hungover. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, but like you could easily wind up in a hospital, or even in worse condition, if you don't look out for your school. Because like no matter how important those grades are in the moment, they're not going to matter 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line. But your health and your sanity do.
Exactly. And those things go hand in hand. It's like, so definitely, like, I can't speak for every art school experience. I have no idea what any other place is like because I did not go there. I know that where I was, it was not really, there wasn't, it just wasn't a focus. It wasn't a focus. They had a mental health services type thing.
Yeah, yeah, sure they did. Yeah, where they let
Yeah.
you like they let you pet puppies and stuff. Like that's what my school did.
That sounds fun, actually. I would have just gone there for that.
No, no, no. Like that's nice,
I didn't
but
have
like
that. Yeah.
it's like a band-aid solution, because they're not actually looking at why is it that the program is so stressful, or why is it that students are reacting in this way. Um, like, and I'm not like putting the blame in the entirety of the institution. The amount of like finals that I went into, like just blank faced, like just didn't study enough and whatnot. Yeah, no, 100%. Like part of that was on me, and part of that is on a lot of students. But like realistically, there's a lot of things that can be changed about that system to make it a little bit more mental health friendly. And like giving students the chance to do yoga classes for a week
Mm,
during finals, it's
mhm.
like, okay, that's nice and all, but like guys, there's something that's fundamentally wrong here that we need to address, because we shouldn't even be having like any kind of flyers that say, oh, if you're thinking of like committing suicide or self-harm or whatever, like that's not, this should be the furthest thing from it. This is a place of learning.
Yeah, really though. Yeah, actually, that's so true. Is that to really do well in this life, you're gonna have to go against a lot of paradigms that have been established, which is like stress as a modus operandi, for example. This taken me a lot of years to figure
Like a
this
badge
out.
of honor when it's not, or like when
Yeah,
coworkers are like bragging about how little sleep they got, and it's like, who are you trying to impress? Like who has it worse?
right. Yeah, it's like if you're on a roll, I get it. Like, have fun, be inspired. Sometimes you do want to put some pressure on yourself so that you get it done or whatever thing, like, but just the best thing is to, I think, for a very extreme person as I am in a way, which might not always come off with my demeanor, but you do want to moderate. You want to moderate and take care, really good care of yourself because you are so important. You are the magic spell and the sauce and the it factor and the everything. And it's really important to, I think, remember that school is gonna be a step in your life. Life will go on after it. It will keep going on for a long time, probably. And it'll always be there too if you want to return. I wanted to mention too, like if people are in Chicago, they can actually take some free classes from the Art Institute of Chicago in the museum itself, that side of things. I know they do like live drawings, like nude, like live drawings. I know that's one thing that you can do.
You could be a model. You could
They,
even be that model that's up there.
you could even be that model.
And you
They
don't. By the way,
probably,
you don't have to be fit. Just for anyone that's listening, that you do not have to be fit. They are not asking for Adonis and Aphrodite types to walk in. Like you could easily be just out of shape and just comfortable in your own skin, for an extended amount of time, and you could easily be a
yeah.
model. They don't want like perfect fits every single time. They actually, I think, would prefer if people came in with some imperfections, because that makes it like harder to draw. You're not dealing with like the ideal uh structure of the human body. So yeah, that's another way you could be in those classes.
Yeah, yeah. If you do, please let us know so we can like laugh with you about it after you heard it and then you went and did it because that would be amazing. And also very righteous because I always wanted to take that class and I didn't. So maybe the next time I'm in Chicago for some time. I think it's like I think they do it like every week, maybe twice a week, like Thursdays 8 or something. So, uh, worth checking to see like if you're in Chi-Town and you're interested in that, you can just it's kind of like a nice way to audit a class from there because I don't know if you can really audit classes there, but maybe. But yeah, so yeah, that I think the main thing to wrap this up by saying is like be take care of yourself, enjoy the process. It's all process work. You will probably make things that you don't like and things that you do, and you'll probably have ideas that stick with you, and those are probably the ones that you want to end up making at some point. Like I've had ideas in my head for like 10 years that I still like and I still want to make. So sometimes when things stay, that means they really resonate with you and they're really good. So trust your genius, take care of yourself, keep making things, surround yourself with people that make you better, and you don't necessarily need to go to art school for all that either. But that is one of the things. And then like if you want a school that's you need to also be clear on if technique is important for you, that's going to determine what kind of school you want to go to. Uh SAIC was really conceptual, so even like the fashion students, they could come up with some really cerebral things, but they maybe were not the best at constructing a garment all the time. So you need that might be more like Parsons or Fashion Institute of Technology or something else. There's Pratt, there's RISD. There are a lot of great places in the US alone that have really interesting programs. And yes, I love SCAD too, Savannah College of Art and Design. That is probably the most industry oriented art school, and I think it's a good thing. Like if you want to be an illustrator for Pixar, if you want to go be a shoe designer at Nike, those type of things, like SCAD's a great place to check out. So, and yeah, I know I'm leaving places off the list. I'm leaving some really like cool esoteric ones off the list, but just yeah, like explore, have fun. Some are more craft focused, like you can just kind of see what vibes with you, and it's always going to be a make your own adventure story. So you just have to know that it's if you're looking for something prescriptive, then you can find it to some degree, but just remember that it's going to be up to you ultimately.
That's as good a place to end it as any.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just to echo your point about taking care of your health, degrees and diplomas are not known for their bedside manner. So I could not emphasize it more. Unless you're working on some groundbreaking tech and some Manhattan project type situation in university, or you got a startup, or actually doing something life changing, there's an argument to be made there. But yes, your health is absolutely the first thing that should be your priority. Physical, mental, or otherwise, that is always the priority, because school will
That's
come
really
and go. All these classes and friends and people that you know, they will fade in and out of your life in a way that you are unable to predict. But the one thing that's gonna make sure that you can get up and function the next day is your well-being. So always prioritize that first. If I could offer any advice as someone who had never gone to art school, never had to pay $250 million tuition, um, yeah, that's it, priority number one. But in any case, yeah, thank you, everyone, for listening thus far. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you, Mackenzie,
yeah.
for making the time again for our weekly show. It's been a pleasure to hear about your experiences and all that.
Thank you, Whiteville. You're the best host. I appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys next week, unless we are going to be busy cooking, and in which case, just keep an eye on our socials. We'll have all the updates there. And yeah, as per always, everything's on Twitter at Outsider Supply. Look us up. We got more interviews coming down the pipeline. Obviously, the movie night this weekend. We got lots of stuff happening every week. So yeah, just stay tuned.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you guys later.
Great. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.